All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. We're briefing you today on the absolute high-stakes legal war between Elon Musk and Sam Altman over the control of artificial intelligence. Now, if you're a corporate exec trying to navigate today's rapidly shifting tech landscape, listen up, because this conflict is not just a flashy headline. It is a direct, immediate variable in your strategic forecasting. We are literally watching the highly curated PR veneer of Silicon Valley get stripped away, revealing raw, unyielding corporate warfare. And the reason the spin is failing here? Well, because this isn't a squabble over a delayed product launch. It's a foundational clash over what AI fundamentally is. Should it be a closed, profit-driven enterprise or an open-source, globally accessible utility? That core tension right there, that's setting the stakes for everything we're about to cover.
$1 trillion. That's the sheer scale of the financial risk at play here. Our sources indicate this feud is bleeding millions of dollars every single day in legal maneuvers alone. But zooming out past those immediate legal bills, this whole thing holds trillion-dollar implications for the entire tech sector. Every single boardroom needs to wake up to the fact that this is a battle over the foundational architecture and the core economic models of the future. Think about it. If foundational models dictate enterprise computing for the next decade, whoever wins this trial is going to determine your future compute spending, your software margins, and exactly how value gets captured across the entire global AI supply chain.
Okay, here's a quick look at the agenda for our briefing. First, we'll unpack the high-stakes legal war. Then we'll look at the no-nonsense judiciary, quantify that massive financial risk, see how this is shaping global AI policy, and finally, we'll wrap up with the strategic stalemate. Let's get right into it.
Starting off with Section 1, the high-stakes legal war, setting the stage.
As you can see, this conflict has completely exploded out of private boardrooms and into a public court, and it's exposing some incredibly deep fractures in how AI should be governed. Again, this is way beyond a disagreement over a product roadmap. We are talking about a major structural fracture. Back in the day, these kinds of disputes were handled quietly, right behind closed doors at OpenAI, wrapped up tight in NDAs. But now, they're being dragged out into the harsh light of a public trial. And for anyone assessing corporate risk, having this level of public exposure in such a new industry is a severe vulnerability. Once the discovery process forces private communications and strategic roadmaps into the public domain, the collateral damage is going to ripple out way past Musk and Altman. Competitors are watching like hawks, and previously hidden strategic alliances are suddenly wide open to scrutiny.
Moving on to Section 2, the No-Nonsense Judiciary, accelerating risk.
So, sources are specifically describing the presiding official here as a no-nonsense judge. Now, why does that matter to you and your legal teams? Well, because a judge with this kind of reputation is absolutely not going to put up with standard corporate delay tactics. The usual playbook for high-profile litigation, drag it out, bury the other side in discovery paperwork, wait for them to run out of money and settle, that defensive strategy is totally off the table. The rapid pacing here completely flips the risk calculus. It means immediate, unmitigated exposure to unfavorable rulings without any luxury of time to sit back and adjust your internal corporate strategy.
And this rapid-fire judicial-style force forces immediate transparency in a sector that, let's face it, thrives on absolute secrecy. It's accelerating a trial that a lot of folks expected to drag on for years, and it's forcing immense, immediate legal spending. When you force transparency onto companies that are used to operating behind strict, black-box development cycles, their most closely guarded trade secrets become incredibly vulnerable. We're talking about core algorithm weights, secret training data sources, internal safety evaluations, all potentially becoming public record. If your enterprise relies on the proprietary edge of its tech stack, this forced transparency is literally a worst-case scenario unfolding in real time.
All right, Section 3, quantifying financial risk, the core disagreement.
Right at the very core of this financial hemorrhage is a fundamental ideological chasm. Altman's camp is treating AI as a proprietary corporate asset, while Musk is out there arguing it has to be a transparent global resource. And this ideological divide is going to dictate the valuation model of your entire tech portfolio. Look, if AI is firmly ruled a proprietary asset, our future is going to be dominated by tightly licensed SaaS models with astronomical margins for the big players. But if it's forced to be a transparent global resource, the enterprise ecosystem shifts heavily toward open source services. That fundamentally commoditizes the underlying models and wipes out billions in projected proprietary revenue. Whichever paradigm wins out is going to reshape literally every tech budget and investment strategy on the planet.
With both legal teams throwing every available resource at this to gain an edge, corporate leaders have got to recognize the immense, continuous financial drain this zero-sum game demands. It is literally a litigation arms race. We're seeing top-tier white-collar defense firms deployed. exhaustive forensic data extraction, and a daily capital burn rate that is just unprecedented. The sheer volume of capital being siphoned away from R&D and poured into aggressive legal maneuvering shows you exactly how much future market share is riding on this eventual verdict.
Let's pivot to Section 4, Shaping Global AI Policy, the Washington Pivot. Think about how a court leaning toward transparency could fundamentally gut the industry's maximum pressure approach to proprietary code. If the court actually validates the demand for open-source transparency, the whole playbook for monetizing heavily guarded AI software could be dismantled overnight. On top of that, this direct challenge to OpenAI's unique shift from a non-profit to a capped profit structure, that's almost certainly going to trigger aggressive IRS and SEC reviews across the whole industry. Regulators are watching this case like a hawk. Any finding of structural impropriety could kick off a massive wave of audits targeting those complex, hybrid corporate entities that have become so trendy in Silicon Valley.
As an executive, you need to prepare for this regulatory shift right now, because the specific legal arguments challenging OpenAI's corporate structure are threatening the regulatory environment of the entire tech sector. You need to be scenario planning for a world where the rules around open source compliance versus proprietary IP aren't drawn up by lawmakers, but by a judge's gavel in this very trial. That means auditing your current third-party AI integrations today, knowing exactly where your proprietary data lives, and having fallback strategies ready just in case the enterprise tools you rely on get hit with sudden regulatory headwinds or are forced to restructure.
And finally, Section 5, the Strategic Stalemate, a legal chess match.
Even with a no-nonsense judge slicing right through the corporate PR, the sheer, unprecedented complexity of AI ethics is still a massive roadblock for our traditional legal system. Think about it. We're asking an analog legal framework built on centuries of physical precedents to somehow perfectly regulate a rapidly evolving, self-learning digital intelligence. Things like a fiduciary duty to humanity or open-source mandates for superintelligence. There is simply no robust case law for that. It's a monumental bottleneck. We are literally watching 19th century legal doctrines crash head-on into 21st century technological realities.
Which brings us to a really critical, strategic question for your boardroom. Could a quiet settlement actually be more dangerous for the future of AI innovation than a definitive, highly public verdict? I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but if these two titans just settle behind closed doors to stop the financial bleeding and hide their secrets, the rest of the corporate world loses its one shot at regulatory clarity. The rules of the game stay hidden in the dark. That kind of ongoing ambiguity would cast a huge chilling effect over broader enterprise AI adoption and capital investment. Companies are just going to hold back, terrified they might be building their futures on legally unstable foundations.
So, as we wrap up this briefing, I want you to really ask yourself, is protecting proprietary breakthroughs or fighting for open-source transparency the true path forward to secure your enterprise? The shockwaves of this trial are inevitably going to reach your desk. The only question is, are you going to be ready for them?